should be good to go. I'm just double checking our audio thing, but we should make sure the camera was working. That's kind of a big one. Yep, no, it's all looking good. Fantastic. Happy days. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
We'll catch up with you in just a sec. I'm just gonna reset the chat box because if I don't, it likes to not work. Boom. Super.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. We're in yet another heat wave.
Yeah, it's like, according to Nathan's fan, it's 33 degrees Celsius in here, which is,
Yeah,
that's like 90s.
it's
90 for Fahrenheit.
yeah, about 94. Oh, look, you can get a little bit of fluff. That's nice. A little bit of bird fluff.
Almost scared me, but it's just
Yeah, just a bit of fluff. Ah, hi everybody. How's everybody doing? How's our week been? Everybody doing okay? We got refreshments and everything. It's good. So let me catch up with the chat. Let's see. Green beans. Hi, welcome. You said great. Don't know what that's in conjunction to, but fantastic. Little Duck, you said I'll be here waiting. Oh, and Chaos also. Hey, Little Duck, awesome. Saying hi to everybody. Chaos says, just saw the story drop a bit ago. Happy birthday again, of course, because Little Duck's birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday, Little Duck.
Happy birthday, Duck.
Fantastic. Ellie's in chat. Hi, Ellie. Good to see you. People hyped for the stream, like it. Good. Ren's here. Fantastic. Good to see our buddy Ren. Excellent. Here we go. One of the men of the hour himself. Oh, because I put up a message in chat saying I was getting our camera on. It was, Ren for the one time when we had Ren on understands we when everything works, it works great, but it always takes like I don't know what it is with this current camera system, but it always takes like 2 or 3 minutes to get the camera just magically working. It's never had that problem before. No idea what's going on. And I'm too lazy to figure it out or replace the camera. So, yeah, it takes time, right? It takes time. Let's see. Chaos says, "Hey, Nate, Jordan, week made pretty great with the reading and stream. Of course, because I got to read your story, The Old Man of the Cellar. That's gone out literally 2 hours ago. It was quite a bit of a heavy story, but I thought it was really well. Thought it was really well worded. Really nice. So good. It's good that you're here. We're happy to have you, as always." Ellie says, "It's so warm." It sure is. It sure is. We got the window open. You might see me disappear every once in a while. So don't be alarmed. I am here. Just if we ever get wind, we're gonna embrace it. You might also hear random neighbors. So congratulations, guys. You might not. To be fair, I'm very surprised with some of the stuff that I pick up in the recordings. I do not pick up a lot, which is impressive. But we'll see if that changes today. Ren says camera's haunted. Yes. It could very well be the case. It could very well be the case. So, I've learned a little bit more about this top fan leaderboard thing that you can see on the YouTube thing. Apparently, it's just a fun thing they're trying out for everybody, which I think is kind of fun. I know you can. I think you earn XP for chatting or for donating, which then bumps you up in the ranks. And as an added bonus, what I'm going to do is at the end of the stream, whoever is in the top spot, I'm going to give them a free month of membership. Because apparently I can do that. So, not trying to put any pressure on you guys. It's just extra bonus for stream. And yet again, you don't have to donate to become the top. It's all about just being a part of the experience. I think watching, commenting, things like that all contributes. I think maybe there's other ways to do it. I don't know. It's not like they sent me a brief on it or anything. I had to fucking figure this out myself. So, who knows? We're all learning together. But I just thought that'd be kind of fun. It's kind of fun. Let's see. Little Duck says, after my birthday, I'm going to get my own Discord account and email. Yippee, congratulations, buddy. That's going to be great. You're going to be an adult. Well, I mean, you're almost an adult, I would say, at that point. There's still more adult stuff you got to do, but hey, that's a step in the right direction. That's like teenage status. That's pretty good, in my opinion. Pretty good. Chaos says, Slenderman just coming to get you too, with you all staying in those woods. You know what? He could take me. It's fucking hot. I'll go somewhere else. Why not? Little Duck says, well, email, I already have one, but I'll make this cool, yeah. Ren says, hell yeah, let's go. Ellie says, Chaos is reigning supreme. Well, that's not surprising. I mean, it's fucking Chaos. You gotta love a bit of Chaos. Oh, you mean Chaos the person? Ha. Ha. I know, that was adorable, I know. Little Duck says, being part of the channel, it was really random. Okay. Kale says, because I talk a lot in bursts, who knows who will be at the end? Oh, I completely agree. I completely agree. Who knows? But that's okay. I thought it was just a little bit of fun that we could do. Anyway, all that aside, let's do some intro pieces. How's your week been?
It's been pretty chill mostly. Well, it was before the heat wave because there were some nice, not hot days this week.
Oh yeah.
I've mostly been spending my time talking to Ellie on Discord and watch videos together.
Nice, nice.
Ellie showed me a full playthrough of Bully, the Rockstar game, which I've never seen all the way through that game before.
You haven't seen it all the way out? Okay.
No,
No,
it was
fair enough.
it was cool. Although I was struck by how like it's very much like it's a very modern Rockstar game for its time, but also like.
It's definitely a really strange one for them to do.
But also, like, Rockstar gameplay never actually evolved beyond Bully.
Oh no,
Even as far as Red Dead Redemption 2, it plays almost exactly like Bully, but just fancier.
Oh yeah, exactly. Just with a different skin. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, very true.
And I also showed Ellie a playthrough of Half-Life Alyx, which great game, fantastic game.
No spoilers,
No,
because I do have a meta quest, and I will inevitably finish it.
I will not spoil any of it.
It's just too fucking hot to do VR, so that's why I'm not.
I've been playing a bit more Deltarune. I've beaten like all of it. I'm just there's an optional boss that that I want to beat, but it's the hardest boss in the game so far, and it's taken me a lot of tries, and I'm only like 3/4 of the way through the boss. It's hard, really hard.
Challenges are good. I always like a challenge. Things that really, especially if you have to do it more than once, then you're really like, okay.
And Ren says that I'm kind of quiet. Not being my thing. It doesn't say 8, so.
Should be on 8.
That should be better. Okay.
Yeah, that should be better. It was definitely the mode. Good catch. Very good catch. Because the microphone's really good in the right mode. But it's weird because I moved it. I changed it. I wonder if maybe it like momentarily disconnected and reset itself. So, good catch. Very good. Ren says, love the DHMIS shirt. I agree.
Yeah. Well,
Fucking cool.
Yeah. I saw this at an HMV once and I wanted it.
Yeah, that's all the inspiration, really, isn't it?
DHMIS is great.
Yeah, because I mean, they ended up doing their show.
Yeah.
Which I thought even that is interesting, and I feel like, oh, okay, they have more of a story they want to tell. There's more mystery involved, and I was like, this is going to be really interesting. Actually, I like where they're going. And then it just kind of, they're still kind of doing stuff, but they're not doing the show exactly anymore. I think ? I'm very confused as to what's going on with the whole production of DHMIS at the moment, because I thought when they had the show, it was going to be like they're just going to keep making the show, and that's going to go from there. But I don't think they're doing that now. So they've got a season, and obviously they've got the YouTube version of stuff from before, and they are still doing stuff because I follow I think her name's Becky on Instagram, and she even on their website and stuff, it kind of shows you they've got new things and they are working on stuff. I just don't know when or where any of it's coming out, because I don't feel like they've announced any of that, and I'm like, we just want to know where, at least, so we know where to keep an eye on, but we'll inevitably find out.
Yeah.
Because, I'm really curious to see what they're, because the theories for, like, the original YouTube one was like, oh, the red guy was, making a TV show for kids and stuff like that, and he was working with Roy, the yellow guy's father, and all these interesting ideas, but then the TV show, like, completely was not any of that. So, I don't know. I'm really curious to see what the fuck story they're trying to tell. Besides the fact that it's just a horrifying puppet show, which is, that's just great anyway. Interesting thing to hear. Yeah, it's very good. Lil Duck, I find the XP really weird because it gives you random XP out of nowhere. Yeah, I feel like that might just be a time thing for watching. I think it's all like a loyalty-based thing is how they reward XP. I can't give XP. I have zero control over that. I didn't even know this was a thing until, like, literally last week. It just happened. So, I do know that I can gift memberships. That's the thing I know I'm allowed to do, but I can only do it during a live stream, which is a little weird, but it's good to know. So that's why I've tied it in with the top fan thing. I think that's kind of fun. So that way everybody has a chance for reward. But hey, that means every time there's a live stream, there's a chance. So, even if you don't get it this time, that doesn't mean you couldn't get it another time. Little Duck says, can't wait for my stories, because we fixed the the mic stuff. That's good. We should do a horror movie night sometime. The only issue with doing a horror movie night is copyright. And that's a big one. I mean, even with watching YouTube stuff, we can still get, like, stopped. So it's really... I love the idea of doing a horror movie night, or maybe, like, bad movies, or anything like that, just a really chill kind of thing. I can't stream that on YouTube, is the issue. So if we were to inevitably do that for, say, like, the diehard community, the people who really want to keep doing this and hanging out and stuff, then I'm sure we can figure out something on Discord. I'd be happy to do something like that. It's an idea I've kind of floated in my mind a few times. It's a possibility. We just wouldn't be able to do it on YouTube. That's all. Nor on Twitch. I think Twitch also has quite strict problem. Basically, a lot of streaming platforms have issues with copyright, which is understandable. And I don't want to lose this, because they could take down the whole channel and that's it. Everything Nate and I is gone. So that would suck. Because then, you guys, you never see me again. They'd come and wipe me out or something. I don't know, send the KGB. Have you heard of Forsaken? I really like it and I find it fun. The game? Maybe, I'm not sure. Puppetry work on that scale has got to be one hell of a process. I completely agree. I can't even fucking imagine what it takes to do all kinds of puppetry work. But it's damn impressive, and they do. It's just well produced. Everything about DHMIS is just really well done.
Yeah,
and that's a big reason for me where I'm like, I have to support this. It's just, you could tell they really fucking care about it, and it's just so impressive. Ellie says, it did take years between the YouTube series and the TV show DHMIS, so they might just be vibing. That's very true. That's very true. And, some things do take time. I totally understand that. I just wish we just knew where, at least, But, I'll wait 20 fucking years. I don't care. As long as there is something coming, I'll wait. I don't mind. Maybe, announcements. Discord movie night will be fun. I agree. We'll workshop something. Copyright's a pain in the arse. If on Discord would be nice. Roblox game called Forsaken is like Dead by Daylight. Well, then no, I definitely don't know it if it's a Roblox game. I only know like 4 Roblox games, the 4 that I've played. Which, by the way, Dressed to Impress, I came second place. Just saying. I have fucking fashion taste. Little Duck says, how's Jordan feeling? He looks like he's zoning out. I mean, it's hot.
Yeah, and Nathan's going to read through the chat.
Yeah,
the intro portion of this.
Interaction-y, fun stuff. Remind you that we care. Because we could just completely ignore you, but then I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose of a live stream, right? So, yes, Dressed to Impress, Ren. And like I said, I came second, all right? I did a really good job for my first time. And, I've also heard there's actually horror in that game. I haven't found it, but I'd jump into it again if there's horror. I'll fucking dress up again. That sounds great. Just saying. Second place. That's a fucking... I beat teenage girls. I felt really good. That was very impressive. Lore. Maybe lore. I'm not sure. Anyway, I think we need to talk about why we're here today. Okay. We're here for album number 2 of the Sunsetters Project, which is titled Summer Sucks. Now, Jordan, can you potentially give us a summarized version of who the Sunsetters are?
I'll try.
I mean, even if it's just names, it's something.
Like, it's definitely possible to do. I haven't done that. I haven't done that recap that very much, but so I'm not in the practice of doing it.
That's okay. You just wing it. That's what I do. I don't have any fucking scripts.
So the Sunsetters Project, first of all, is a creative project that I work on. I co-create it with an old high school friend by the name of Lindsay. I don't like Lindsay's probably not gonna make it for this chat. I think that because they live in Georgia and they've probably got work. I don't know, but it's the bulk of it is music, and specifically MIDI music, MIDI, whatever you want to call it. So
what does that stand for? It's like musical instrument digital interface or something?
I think that's exactly it.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm smart, guys.
Yeah. So, for those of you who don't remember what MIDI music is, have you ever played the original Doom? I know.
Or seen a video of the original Doom.
If the music in that, it's like rock music, but it's all computery, old school.
It's like very 8-bit. I think it's technically lower than 8-bit.
No, it's probably more like 16-bit, maybe
Oh, okay.
at most 32-bit.
Oh shit, that's more than I kind of thought it was going to be.
Although specifically, MIDI is just like a series of instructions for the instruments. The instruments themselves can be whatever you want. But
Yeah, they can be like people screaming.
yeah, yeah. The thing
usual.
is, I love MIDI music, and I was very interested in. Once I started writing music myself, I realized I'm not too good at playing instruments, but I can make MIDI music, and I was like, I love this. I would want to see what I can do with this. And so, Lindsay and I have written several albums by now, but they're
5 or more, because you got an EP as well, right?
There's 4 Sunsetters albums and 2 Sunsetters EPs, and another album for a separate fictional band, which will be the Glitch album that we'll get to last.
Oh,
but
spoilers.
It's oh god, the music is only the half of it because the context is. The context is the secret sauce. I'm
a little concerned by that, but okay.
Like,
I know you're just using a term,
yeah,
but still, I was like, I wasn't ready to hear secret sauce.
How the hell? How do I?
That's okay.
Properly put this.
You gather yourself. Omkar, hi, welcome to chat. We're just explaining what we're about to be getting up to today.
So the context, which was like this project is tangentially tied to other of my creative fiction, but it's not necessary to be familiar with all that to enjoy this. Basically, it's like I wanted my characters in my various stories to have a favorite band, and so I got to make up these names of albums and songs and on these to give myself ideas, because but so Lindsay and I have been writing the actual music in MIDI format. But so the music, the project, the Sunsetters project, the idea is we're following one specific band called Sunsetters. They're a rock band from the 2000s, and we follow them album by album, and sometimes there's a bit more lore, usually in the form of like a magazine interview that one of the members will give. That's how you can get a bit more backstory about the band or a bit more detail about the characters. We read one of the interviews last time.
Yeah, with the guitarist, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Deegan. But Deegan, I want to say Renner, and I was like, that's not right.
But so the 5 members of Sunsetters, I just want to get this out of the way, are... So there's Elsie Carr, who's a vocalist and keyboardist.
Captain Crunch.
There's Deegan Allen, who's a guitarist. If you're listening on headphones, you'll hear him in the left ear. But then there's Remy Larson, who's also a guitarist. You'll hear him in the right ear. And functionally, it was basically like lead guitarist, rhythm guitarist. Then there's Paul Blackwood, who's a bassist. And there's Finn Jensby, who's the drummer. So it's a standard 5-piece rock band kind of thing. Very much influenced by a lot of the rock music that I've loved over the years. And, God. There are horror elements in this project. A lot of the songs that they make and a lot of the stories they like to tell are horror stories. This one that we're going to hear today isn't quite a horror story. It's much more of an epic poem, but I don't know. I think people will get into it.
I mean, not every story is going to be a horror story, is it? But I mean, either way, like we start with album number 4, which is, I mean, it's based in horror, because it involves the Slender Man as well. Like, come on, like.
Yeah, the last stream we did No Entry, which was album 4, takes place in 2005, or was released in 2005, and we did album 1, The Mythology of Empathy, which was released in 2000. No Entry was, it's notable for being a rock opera involving the Slender Man. It's not really about the Slender Man, but it's Slender Man vibes, and Slender Man is in it.
Would have been cool if he got a guitar solo.
Would have.
I mean, obviously we could have just been like, oh, yes, this is him playing the guitar right now, but like, that'd have been funny, right? Maybe that's a bonus track. That's just fun. Because obviously you don't have to put anything on screen. You could just be like, oh, yes, Slender Man broke into the studio and he ripped out a fucking epic guitar solo. That'd be really funny. So, Omkar, you're asking about Weird Birds. Let me go ahead and explain to you like I do almost every week now. Weird Birds is created by Arcasukas. I merely cover and narrate the story and bring it to a wider audience because that's kind of You know, I'm a storyteller. I'm quirky and shit like that. You know, it's my only super ability. So I'd say it's maybe halfway done. And I don't feel good about giving people a half finished thing that may or may not ever be finished. So I do know he's going to finish it. He just hasn't yet. But I literally talked to the dude on Discord. I'll know when it's done because he wants me to make a video on it. Like, it'll happen. It'll happen when it happens. But even I don't know when it's coming. So yeah, just letting you know. You've watched half. Good. That's all we got so far. I haven't made a video on it. Anyway, moving on back to Sunsetters Project, what we're here to talk about. Yeah, no, I'm quite excited. You feel like you're ready to jump in?
I possibly, but I'm also just like awkward about this.
Okay.
I've shown these albums to friends before, but it's I don't know. I'm still not experienced enough to be able to just seamlessly present it like this.
Okay.
But we'll do what we can, and we'll get through this.
That's the thing we could do the best. Just do stuff.
But so the format that we figured out for last time was it's best to do it like we listen to a song and then we read the context for the next song, and then we listen to the next song and so on.
Yeah.
So, but however, this album only has 5 songs, and they're long songs. So we may go longer between, but also like there's at least one song where I think there's a reasonable part where we could stop halfway through and read a bit more, like break it up. I've got ideas how to segment this, I guess. But,
Okay.
But so we're gonna start with the link that says clowns.
Ooh, I like clowns.
And so, for those of you who weren't here last time, I'll give this spiel again. So, like, oftentimes when you buy a CD or buy a vinyl, it'll come with like what you gamers nowadays may refer to as an instruction manual, but basically liner notes. It comes with a little pamphlet which often has the lyrics in it, and if the album tells a story, sometimes they'll actually write out a little bit of prose about the story, and so sometimes, like, whenever I get an album like that, I like to read the stuff first and then listen to it. And this thing we're gonna read here, this would theoretically come with the lyric booklet in Summer Sucks. Although, unlike with No Entry, this is not a transcription of the story. This is, if anything, this is a really weird prelude that I wrote, and it's very poetic, and you don't have to get it, but just, I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, hit us with it.
So, in the beginning was the word in, formed by a voice in the stimulus that we erroneously, in a retrospective sort of arrangement, call the void. So this is evidently a kind of creation myth right here. The soon followed, as the voice recognized itself as distinct from what was experienced. The question of identity had not yet been formed, but components of thought were preparing an answer anyway, and that answer was shaping up to be reason. Next was rendered beginning, and the universe came to be, with wisps of length entangling with gusts of breadth, space becoming depth, and all drifting naturally, falling, towards, but not reaching, a state of beautiful slowness where all stands still. As the voice observed matter undergoing its natural drift, which it called gravity, they recognized that, as a distinct form separate from all observed things, see principle number 2, this natural drift was taking matter farther away from their fixed point of observation. So, the voice declared was, as they now recognized time. Another the escaped the voice, and it was here that a conclusion was formulated. The voice truly was reason, observer of all that exists, potential curator of the music of the spheres. The voice was reason, but then who was the ear hearing the body's voice speak these thoughts? We're the same body, aren't we? But reason is distinct from all else. They said so. So I must be creation, and I hear reason's divine principles dividing all into grand systems of many. But where has reason gone? They've drifted too now, and are marking further the many things making up the all, which they call the universe. I think I will create, and the things I create will follow reason's rules, for I think they are beautiful. I will begin by creating something special. I will create the word, and it will exist only for reason to be able to speak it.
and the first word I create shall be in. So the bold text in that section spells out in the beginning was the word in.
Oh.
Which is a fun little thing. Right. In the early days of our planet, reason and creation had already given form to outrageous complexity. They of course made the Earth, a shifting theater of a great many grains of dust, and for that theater they produced the stagehands wind, water, and fire. These elements had stories to perform but no audience, until a few particular grains of dust gained little points out in the end with which to sense. Our mighty Earth had become its own observer. Over time, these sensing observers would grow to be able to perceive larger scales of experience, and with each new paradigm would become that much more aware, would retain approximations of patterns, would begin to remember and predict. As principles number 4 and number 5 imply, though, so did these observers' complexity coincide with a perception of themselves as distinct from the Earth and from each other. As above, so below. Their game, a game of calculation and of interval, a game set amidst the play of our elemental stagehands, a game under the 7 principles of our 2 scalars, a game for beauty in all its forms, goes on. Heads. In over their heads. In over their heads were the clowns. One cannot explain the clowns. If the clowns are to be believed, any attempt to consciously perceive them shatters into an array of faint questions. Did they exist? If so, how many were there? Were they the descendants of those original observers, or were we? Do we share a common ancestor? How did they get the powers they have? Or were they never there after all? Were they just a mistranslated metaphor? Many things from the early days are like that to us now, like trying to remember a dream. Even now, as my sense of myself as narrator returns to me, I'm losing grasp on these events I describe. Like the river Mab, which ran from a strange source at the foot of a strange mountain all the way to the far ocean. Which ocean? Why that mountain? Civilizations gathered and formed on the banks of the Mab, people to whom we owe ourselves. What of them? What happened? Okay, this is the final segment. If I am to tell anything at all of substance from the times of the clowns, I must write down their strongest myth. There is a tree which is as much an individual tree as it is all collective life. It formed out of necessity, as their footprints bear its seeds in soil. Wherever they settled, life would grow among them, though they did not notice and thought themselves merely lucky. They elected to make the most of the life gathering around them, and so they established a rule of market. If you wish to live in our circle, you must sell your labor. And they built walls, and they built stalls. They created a peculiar culture, and that culture bustled. There is a tree which is as much resistant as it is fragile. As it forms out of necessity, so their walls did nothing to shape its growth. Whatever they tried, life would grow among them. The tree took no notice of their stalls, and its branches tore through them. They elected to adapt to the destruction of life around them, and so they built a larger market with walls farther out. The tree can grow as large as it wants, we will still sell. And they built new walls, and they built new stalls. They created a bigger market, and its culture bustled. But the tree, Yggdrasil, did grow as large as it wanted, and as large as it wanted was larger than even the bigger market, and so the new walls were destroyed by branches. But the builders, the clowns, did not change their plan, and they built the biggest walls as far out as architecture would allow, as they named this place the supermarket Yggdrasil. The clowns were dedicated to profit, and the tree was dedicated to growth. There is a tree which is, until it cannot. It fell out of necessity, as the supermarket was built out of strong material. Wherever they settled, life would grow among them, though they did not notice, and life thought itself unlucky. As the tree collapsed, it undid the foundations of the great walls, destroying the rule of market and its inhabitants together with itself. This is terrible. We will have to settle elsewhere. And they left the ruins of the old culture with the dead tree. Elsewhere, they built a new culture, and the new culture bustled, until a new tree grew among them. And that myth is called the supermarket Yggdrasil. And we have this art which was made for this album, which is Yggdrasil growing out of a supermarket.
Ah. Feels very Elden Ring.
Yeah, in hindsight it does.
Yeah. So, the clowns.
Right. Admittedly, this one's a lot easier to explain if you're familiar with the fear mythos. Basically,
Is it just the concept of the fact that clowns are just horrific monstrosities and
I guess
nature, or does it also perhaps tie into the fact of the mysterious clown appearances in no
it's
that would have been funny.
Like a clown at the time, and even I guess still now, I thought the clowns were kind of cool, and I like the idea of exploring them as a horror monster, but not. It's like this album is not going to be very realistic, and it's not going to do. Like, you're not going to see a particularly interesting focus on clowns. As a clown here is just a synonym for God, basically. I'm using clowns here as a cooler word for God. Like the dark gods, the eldritch gods. They're in this world. They are the clowns.
Cool.
Right. And so the actual album is going to have almost nothing to do with most of that. Like a lot of that was me just exploring themes that I wanted the story to maybe explore. But the supermarket Yggdrasil is relevant, but but it's still just a symbolic thing. I don't know.
Okay, I get that.
So then,
We start with YouTube then.
yes, but let's have a second tab open with the website.
Sure. Okay.
And first, I'm gonna have to read the thing about the first song, so take us to the website and scroll down a bit until you see a red background. There. Okay. Right. So this is the plot of song 1. Really, like the plot isn't that hard to figure out just from reading the lyrics, but you might appreciate just having it spelled out for you. So the narrator is Lucius Sunsetto, a teenager who hates summer because he associates it with commercial business and everything moving too fast. He considers himself something of a prophet, as any angsty teenager will do, and he mourns for the old days of gods in Yggdrasil, and perhaps for a lost love, a girl who dumped him. But then the surrealism begins. He shatters into 3 personalities, a nameless one shooting up into the heavens, an idolatrous war sinking into the ground, and he, the true Sunsetto, wanders the earth. I don't even know if it... I didn't... Okay, we'll get to that. Sorry. Don't mind me. Okay, where are we? He is stalked by the predator, a specter, the sense of being hunted. He is found by a powerful ordering force, a woman named Chorus, who promises him the warmth of love if he will do as she asks, slay the Cyclops. Who's the Cyclops? She doesn't say. So he agrees, figuring he won't have to do anything. He wanders some more, feeling his malaise distilled into an emptiness. Finally, one more force greets him, a voice named Isis. There's the goddess Isis. Like I think it's Mesopotamian or Egyptian.
Egyptian.
Yeah. A voice named Isis, claiming to be his god. Isis lays it all out for Sunsetto. The world is ending, the fires are increasing, no one will survive, and if there's any species on the earth after all is said and done, they won't even know we were here, as we'll have been so thoroughly wiped out. Sunsetto's problems mean so little, and this overwhelms him. He needs an escape. But so, like, I was muttering about halfway through this. This didn't really make it clear enough. But this is like a modern day apocalypse. It's like suddenly, this is a summer where suddenly it's hotter than normal and hotter than this. I'm talking like worst case scenario hotter.
Well, it only seems to be an apocalypse for him though.
It'll get developed in later songs, but yeah, the first one is very insular. It is focused on Lucius.
Right. Cool.
Right. So the first song is titled "The Inferno Begins," and for those of you who weren't here last time, there's no vocals, but there's MIDI vocals, and there's lyrics associated with those. The lyrics will appear on screen for this YouTube video. You just got to kind of... The Sunsetter's project for the audience is all about playing pretend. You got to pretend this is real rock music, and you got to pretend that there's a voice saying these words. You kind of got to you get into it as it goes on. Okay.
It'll make sense. Don't worry.
And this is album 2, released in the fiction in the year 2002.
The Inferno Begins.
Yeah. sense does emerge from it. Like, as we go on, this album will get better and better. Like,
I'm already doing it.
the start of this album is very much, I don't know, it's going to feel like growth. Here comes the chorus. Wednesday night both on Facebook.
Fun fact: there actually is a place called Blind Well in Destiny.
Huh.
Oh, wow, it's really funny.
And that's basically it. It's like a synth note that lasts like 10 seconds. We don't have to, or 20 seconds. We can stop it here. Here for some reason. Okay, it's just one note for a very long time.
Yeah, but I want to give you that. I want to give you that 100% retention.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That's a,
Okay, that's quite an intro piece. But even that alone is a story. So does the rest of the album continue?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Summer Sucks is the story of Lucius Sunsetto. Really, that clown's bit of prose piece it's more just a side thing. It's not really.
Well, I think it's also part of like establishing the history of this place as well, right? Even though it might not 100% be connected to it, it kind of it's like trying to explain how the Earth was created, even if not everything in the story is immediately related to that, right?
Like I guess fundamentally what it does is it establishes that this takes place in a fictional world that runs on pretty poetic rules.
Oh yeah. No, I mean I'm already just really intrigued. I'm interested. I think this is it's a really strong start.
Cool.
I like the fact that you've basically crafted your own fictional little world just for one album alone is already quite something.
Yeah, I mean, like we made the music first, and then I came up with the lyrics and the plot afterwards. But
was it just based on like vibes and feelings then?
Mostly, but the thing is, like our fundamental idea for this album was we wanted to make an album that mirrors the plot of my novel. Oh God, the Rapture is Burning. This isn't an adaptation of it. This is more like It just follows it's the same emotional vibe, emotional story. So it's the sudden apocalypse, and it's focused on a teenager. It's a very because we start off as immersed in a teenager headspace, and as it goes on, it becomes more about the growth of that, the growth of maturation and things. So like this song is I sometimes refer to as the metal one. This is there will be metal throughout the rest of the album. This album is rooted in metal, but this was like the metal song. It's got there's a lot to it that's very black metal and very I don't know.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of it goes then.
Now I do want to point out one more thing. Can we switch back to the website? Well, I guess we're going to have to anyway. But scroll down a lot until you reach an image. Right there. Okay. So this would be the back of the CD. There's one of these for every album, but we didn't look at the other ones. But so look, there's only 5 songs, and this album would theoretically be split into 2 discs. Although if you listen to it digitally, which is the only option, then it's all one consecutive thing. But I just wanted to. Also, it's cool art.
It's really cool artwork.
So, yeah. So in terms of structure for the stream, we'll listen to the first 3 songs. Then I'm going to have a sig break, and then we'll knock out the second 2 or whatever. Yeah.
You know the plan now.
Okay. Now we can just go back to the that one. This one right here. So this song 2 is titled "Pig Bruiser," and and like musically, it's good. Like Inferno Begins, this is still going to be a lot. I consider the first half of Summer Sucks to be like a wall of fire. You have to get through it. It's introducing a lot of motifs, like musical motifs, a lot of riffs and a lot of melodies that will come up and be developed later, often in surprisingly different forms, but still, like you got to get through all these, a lot of ideas. It's going to throw a lot of ideas at you. But anyway, this is song 1.
Oh no.
Anyway, so Pig Bruiser we're still in that wall of fire, but it's going to be a different vibe this time. Anyway, story. The story continues with Sunsetto being pursued once again by the specter of the Predator. He reasons that if he can negate the sounds he makes, if he can reduce his sound footprint, if he can echo negate, he can slip away from the sense of being hunted and perhaps see the world through clearer eyes. So like if he just acts quiet and if he
might do anything to cancel out his own noises.
Yeah, at the very least, he'll feel safer. That's really what the Predator is here.
I get the logic, for sure.
That's his mindset as he is approached by 4 horsemen preaching war. 4 horsemen preaching war and announcing the coming of their king, the Pig King. They leave, Sunsetto wanders, and then Lucius meets the Pig King. Towering Goliath, the Pig King monologues. Earth has suffered, but the war that the clowns will bring will dwarf anything the earth has known. He, the Pig King, is a clown. The clowns are our gods, the same ones Sunsetto thought were relics of a better age. They know the name of every town on Earth, as they are going to slaughter all and sell us for nothing. They will bring conquest, war, famine, and death. And that's exactly what happens as a negated and quieter Sunsetto watches. The Pig King boasts of his dominion over Earth and over Isis, and that's when Lucius realizes the Pig King has only one eye. He's the Cyclops, and he's idolatrous, claiming to be War himself. This gives Lucius the willpower to slay the Pig King. How, you ask? There's a symbolic thread. Literally, there is no explanation, so the logistics are open to interpretation. The four horsemen cry over their king's death, now hailing Sunsetto as the Pig Bruiser. Lucius feels little confidence at this turn of events and just wanders on. As he wanders, the remaining clowns discuss amongst themselves. There's 7 names: Veles, Chorus, Canio, Piero, Isis, Inanna, and Eugene. They see more story left, some destruction, perhaps a happy ending, but the clown named Piero has something in the works called the Tarantella. Sunsetto sees the clowns in a dream, and, as ever, wanders on. Right.
You ready?
Yep.
The Pig Bruiser. Like the music for introducing, like, usually some kind of. They tend to be like, you know, a bit of a dick, almost like if you were to meet a warrior or something, right?
Yeah, so basically a Pig Bruiser.
No.
So, as the Inferno Begins was the metal one, Pig Bruiser was the dance one. Like this song is it's very transitional, but like it's structured like a medley, like a medley of pop, or well, specifically dance more so than pop. It's a bouncy song, and and also I made this song pretty much by myself, so I do kind of judge it because I think that in hindsight, like it drags on a bit. It's but there wasn't really I didn't really have many other options. I don't know about whatever words.
That's all right. I mean, I can see why you call it a med. I think a medley is a great way to describe it because it does feel like it's not just one genre or style of music. It does feel like it kind of goes through a couple of motions, and I mean, ultimately, it is really the tale between Lucius and the Pig King, and obviously the slaying of the Pig King, thereby Lucius doing what Isis asked of him. But then I think it's also reminded the fact that Isis is also one of the clowns who worked for the Pig King, so obviously that's kind of like an usurping kind of a deal. Yeah. In which case, there's probably further to that. It's probably not just like I hate my boss, kill him for me. I feel like obviously there's going to be more to it.
Yeah,
but interesting. No, yeah, I'm intrigued.
And to be clear, like it was Chorus who ordered it. But
Chorus. Sorry, I thought it was
a separate one. It's
right.
Okay.
Well, either way, they both were working for the Pig King, weren't they? Because they were in the list of names.
Yeah, he had taken sort of a leadership kind of role among the clowns. And as the song ends, like it kind of reveals like another clown has taken his place, but we won't find out who that is for a while.
Okay.
I'm sure I had something else to say, but I've lost it.
That's all right. It might come to you. It might not.
Oh, right. It's there's a bit of a sly reference, like Lucius versus the Pig King and the fall of the Pig King. It's a reference to Mother 3. Because Lucas versus the Pig King. And Mother 3 was originally going to be called The Fall of the Pig King.
Huh. That is quite a nod to that then.
Yeah. Plus, Mother 3 is also about like capitalism, its effects as it takes over a small town. Anyway, so Song 3, Found the Fountain of Mab. I'm not... so, Inferno Begins was the metal one. Pig Bruiser was the bouncy one. I'm not going to say what quality this one has, but just know that like there's another quality here. Every song has its own quality. But right, so plot. Pierrot has created the Tarantella, the song which infects all listeners and dooms them to dance until they die. I'll pause here to just clarify. Like the Tarantella is a real historical.
That's right.
It's like a mythical thing, really. It's debatable if it was real, but
I mean, I don't know if the song itself was real, but I know like the fact that there were. I mean, I don't know if it was a madness or if it was just people being fucking strange, but there was indeed, dancing of death that basically occurred in, especially French. I think it was like little French towns.
Yeah, because it was St. Vitus's disease, like the disease that was just you endlessly dance until you die.
Yeah,
until you get keel over and die.
It was like they just had this weird endless euphoria, and they had to just continuously try to exert energy for some reason. It was very strange.
And from that, they also came up with the idea of the Tarantella being it's a song that infects you with this disease.
That's cool.
And that's also how it's being presented here. So a clown or one of the gods has created the Tarantella in the middle of an apocalypse already.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
It brings with it a philosophical obsession over the unknowable, a mental dance to accompany the physical one. It infects Lucius, whose stamina has already been worn down by this long summer. He listens to...
It's just really funny how it's like all this amazing mythical stuff going on. Lucius is already exhausted though because he's been going through summer as well. Like fuck.
He listens to the wind, reminded of his memories of the lover who had dumped him. The invisible jester is what we call her here for some reason, and is brought by the wind to the river of Mab. It's an ancient river, something of a world river, a Flumen Mundi, like an Axis Mundi is a world pillar, but this will be a world river, but which carries the course of our lives. Distraught over the curse to dance, and vulnerable to his memories, Sunsetto follows the river to its source, hoping to find some profound cure, or at least divine revelation. Instead, he finds the clowns had already ruined it. The Tarantella is embedded deep in the fountain at the river's source. Hopeless, despairing, depressed, Lucius Sunsetto jumps into the fountain to drown himself. He goes unconscious, floating to the surface, drifting down the river, and has a divine revelation in the form of a dream. As the forest is engulfed in flames, one tree scolds another, warning not to seek relief in the water. Second revelation, mockingbirds sell their stolen song to the hungry masses. Lucius can't make sense of this dream, finds both images are contradictions, and yet he wakes up anyway on the bank of the river to the sound of birdsong. He is no longer dancing. He has been cured, and he sits a while, listening to the birds and the rushing of the River Mab. I will say, like, this song is it's a lot prettier than the other ones, and this is maybe my favorite song from the album. But then again, like, all the last 3 songs are contenders for my favorite song of the album.
Oh, high hopes then. Found the Fountain of Mob. Very RuneScape.
Here he comes. We got 3. That's found the Fountain of Mab, or the pretty one.
Yeah, it's definitely lighter in. I'd say the majority of it.
And it's also like the sad one. Like, this is the one where Sunsetto was at his most angsty or most depressed. And
Yeah, but he's also trying to deal with the fact that he has been infected with a song that is intended to kill him, right?
Yeah.
And so cause it's not like it's, you can go find a cure. He's searching for what he's hoping will be a cure, but there's even that no guarantee, and he goes on this insane journey, with a dream and everything, because he goes into the fountain itself. Just in the hopes that he can, not die. Right? Yeah. I can understand why it's emotional and it's sad, and it does a very good job of doing that, especially because yet again, even throughout that, you don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah,
you're hoping he's right. You're hoping he'll figure it out, but at the same time, you're going along with the journey regardless because there is no choice.
Yeah, and I also want to give some commentary on the final movement, Passerin, which is it's another name for a mockingbird.
Okay, right.
Like the final movement, like it's a long instrumental, which is itself like a reprise and development of the opening movement. But but it's I always saw it that ending as representing. So by this point, he's been cured, but it's almost like the piece of like just waking up, realizing you're cured, and just hearing bird song and hearing rushing water, hearing something peaceful in the middle of an apocalypse, hearing something peaceful and kind of like feeling like you're seeing a secret of nature, like an unspoken secret, a secret you're not supposed to put a name to. And so, like the final section is a pretty long instrumental because it's supposed to capture this idea of like you're seeing a secret or you're hearing a secret. It's something beautiful and profound. But I'm gonna go have a cigarette, but that's the end of disc 1. So,
okay, fantastic. That's okay. I'll just switch to the other thing in chat. No problem.
Be back in a little bit.
Yes, that's okay. We'll see you in just a little bit. I'm gonna figure out this this thing I'm supposed to be able to do because they said I've had a I'm part of a excuse me. I wanted to make sure you had that first. I'm part of a boot camp, and they've kind of been teaching me certain things, and so I'm just gonna figure out what it takes for me to do the thing they said, because they said I can gift memberships. I'm just figuring out how I do that. So bear with me while I solve that. Otherwise, how's everybody doing? How are we feeling about side 1 of the of Summer Sucks? I personally, I'm quite liking it. I'm quite liking it a lot because it's, if anything, it's telling a really cool ass story anyway. But it just the sound is nice in my opinion. I feel like I could totally listen to an album like this in my personal opinion. But I mean, I've obviously got my own musical tastes, as I'm sure everybody else does. But I feel like this is just it's a little bit more in line with what I would kind of listen to anyway, and the storytelling elements and things like that make me think of a number of different bands, but one in particular I like that I always think tells great stories in their songs is Iron Maiden. This isn't exactly in the same kind of wheelhouse as Iron Maiden, but I like the fact that the songs themselves are part of the storytelling process, which is a big reason why I like Iron Maiden, because a lot of their stories, they are telling a story. Like, some of them are fucking awesome, in my opinion. Very good. Be honest, you're a bit bored, but you're willing to hear this out. Well, that's very kind of you, little duck. Thank you for your honesty. Honesty is always good. Honesty is always important. And, these things aren't for everybody. That's totally fine. We appreciate your dedication, though. Thank you. That's very kind. Very kind of you. While I figure out this. Nope, that's insert ad. I'm not looking to do that. I need to... Where does it go? If I do... I'll tell you what. I know what to do. If I do that, then at least you guys won't be surprised by any noises. You do like the music, and you would love to see if you could use it... You would love to see if I could use it. It's really well made. Well, I mean, you'll have to talk to one of the creators when he comes back from his smoke break, of course. I know he's allowing me the usage, obviously, in these live streams because, we're advertising it as well, aren't we? That's kind of the... I know he's allowing me the part of the point, right? So if I do this, if I do that, if I do that, I don't see the thing they set, but I can see it's supposed to be in here. Okay. Getting closer. I think I need to do this. Then it goes to here. Yes. This thing. What will that do? We're still alive, so I haven't broken anything. That's good. I just need to do some stuff. Because I want to make sure that I can... Because they told me how to do it. I've just never done this process yet. So I'm learning new things. Because I want to make sure that I can certainly gift the membership every stream. Because I think that'd be nice. You know, which I mean, at the moment, it only gets you really 2 weeks early access, and then I'll put you in the credits roll as well. I will end up having members-only content as time goes on. I feel like they'll be kind of more for like the diehard fans, people who want to become members anyway. But that's just my opinion. Okay, that's what I'm doing. That. Yeah. Well. Right. Oh. That could be an issue. Because it would have to... Yeah, I don't... It's owned by this account. It says... I want to replace. Replace isn't the right word. Well, if I click it, what would happen? I don't want to... I don't know what that would do. Play around with that later.
Oh. Right. Hi, everybody. Did I miss anything?
Not too much. I was just figuring out the membership gifting thing, which I believe I've gotten to the end of, which is good. Oh, so I was just having little chit chats about the music and everything. Yeah, it's just a nice little time. Can't really complain.
Hope people are enjoying it.
I believe so. I know quite a few of us are having a really good time with it. Absolutely. I know even Little Duck was asking about, love to see if they can use it.
Yeah. You have my permission.
Bam. There you go.
Because all this music it's not copyrighted. It's in the Creative Commons 4.0 attribution. So specifically, all you got to do is credit it. And you have my permission to do what you want with it.
There you go. You have your answer. Happy days. Okie dokie. Let's see. Ren says I'm gonna have to go over to lore, bits, and lyrics again on my own time, but the music alone is incredible.
Well, the website should help with that because the lyrics put in there's a specific page for the lyrics to examine them, and if you download the album, you also get like a facsimile of what the lyric book would actually look like.
Cool.
And there's also like a lot of commentary about how we made the music, and I give a bit of commentary on how I made the story, the lyrics. But like the short version is I just pulled all the stuff I was interested in at the time, which is a lot of like classic books and poetry. And the Clowns piece has a lot of William Blake to it. Right. So, Tired Anthem.
Oh, hang on. Let me just switch this. Boom. Moving on to song 4. He's going to give us the pros.
Yeah. But first, so the Inferno Begins was the metal one. Pig Bruiser was the bouncy one. Found the Fountain of Mab is the pretty one. Tired Anthem is the big one. It's big in length. It's a 34-minute song, which is the longest we've ever done. And
wow, the longest you've ever done.
It's longer than like even some of my favorite songs. But it's also meant. I tried to make sure that it sounded big and that it gave you a big, almost like a classic rock kind of vibe to it. But a lot's going to happen. I'm just going to read the first paragraph for now. That'll get us about halfway through the song. And then when we're halfway through the song, I'll pause it and read the rest of it. So that should break it up a bit more appropriately.
Whatever works for you.
Right. So, the rest of humanity is doomed to dance. The world is burning. The sun is coming closer to the earth. Lucius hears the thunder as it comforts the shaking earth, as its tears, the rain, evaporate. Lucius comes to terms with his breakup. He had pushed her away, and he is thankful for the breakup's emotional pain for insulating him from the horrors of apocalypse. The clowns, as our gods, are permanent, and so their efforts cannot overcome the impermanent emotions in us all. Meanwhile, up comes Eugene, the clown who's trying to fill the void left by the Pig King. He's a eugenicist, shareholder, obsessed with money, and calls himself Death. So Lucius kills him and goes on with his life, spending no time on him. Summer goes on, and Sunsetto wanders the earth, seeing the chaos as the sun's closeness melts cars on roads. He thinks of numbers, of calculus, of countable infinity, and of our changing tolerance for heresy. There is sense to this. Countable infinity is a process that we cannot finish, but we still conceive of what's on the other side. Infinity is a circle, and Aleph Null is something only the gods see. We're in the middle of it. Maybe when the summer's over, Lucius will die and see infinity in a glance. The voice of Chorus mocks him. On a global scale, the oceans turn to blood. Another clown takes Eugene's place. A second sun enters the sky. And somewhere, Yggdrasil withers and dries up into stone.
Are we carrying on here, or?
Oh, I've go to the music now. When we're about halfway through the song, I'll pause it and we can read more.
Gotcha.
I guess, let's see what Ren's question.
Of course.
So we started the music, the process of writing music, or at least the first album. We started that in like 2013, 2014. And then Summer Sucks in particular. Well, we began writing Summer Sucks during the writing of the first album. But so I'd say that we started writing Summer Sucks around about 2015, maybe. And we finished it in 2020. Not to downplay Lindsay, Lindsay's very essential to the process. But with Summer Sucks, I took on the role as a director, so I prioritized finishing this thing and managing it and figuring out the structure and also writing a lot of it myself. But it did take a long time and it took a lot of effort and many years. But I just kept chipping away at it. Occasionally, every now and then I pull it up, listen back to it, try to get a sense of what should go next. What does this feel like it's going to? And just kept on doing it until it was until enough of it was complete that I looked at it one day. I was like, oh, I can finish this. If I really just commit to it for a week, I can finish it. But that was in the middle of a heat wave. And I hated summer as I was doing that. So it was very appropriate for this. But anyway, right. Sorry, man.
That's alright, you good? First half, Tired Anthem.
Yep.
Side 2.
Right. So that's the halfway point, basically. So in second paragraph. But an ancient god was buried under Yggdrasil this whole time and now rises. Veles, giant of stone. He speaks to Lucius with his ancient wisdom. Why fill yourself with stress when you can just bury yourself in the ground and wait for it to end? He says a lot of things. He also talks about consumerism, and he imparts the one belief of the clowns. For any human to help themselves, a clown must pay for it, so there's a personal incentive to terrorize humanity. Lucius says goodbye to the dead Yggdrasil, and Veles tells him the scale of what's happening. 7 suns are appearing in our sky, will be dead long before the 4th one. The Earth will be a blazing 8th sun by the time the 5th sun is here, and when all 7 arise, all their masses, along with the solar system, will emerge into one massive sun. So laying on your back and waiting for landslides sounds pretty good, but Lucius Sunsetto figures, if all hope truly is gone, he can still try a bold idea. He can make sure the clowns are infected with Tarantella, so they're not just at peace when we're all dead. With this idea, Lucius sets out on his last wander, and for once he's not afraid of the predator at all. He wanders to Mount Meru, the world mountain, from Hinduism, where the clown named Kaneo, I can't remember, is seizing unspeakable power. The power to shape existence, transcend samsara, transcend form, transcend all consequences for any clown's actions. Kaneo may or may not also be Pierrot. There is a conscious duality. But Kaneo is so focused on this victory that he doesn't notice Sunsetto walking up behind him, and Sunsetto reunites with his other fragments from the very start of the album. Mm-hmm. The idolatrous war who is now conquered, and the nameless one who has now found a name, it's Sunsetto too, and unleashes the Tarantella, infecting himself in the process. With 3 dancing Sunsettos facing him down, Kaneo is visibly upset over something going on here, but he boasts that the Tarantella has no power over any clown. Then Kaneo turns himself into a mockingbird and flies away. Do you want this mystery explained for you? It's up to you. If you want to click on it, I'll read it. Just clarifying a bit of the symbolism. Kaneo has reincarnated. That means he hasn't transcended anything. Sunsetto has prevented at least that. And I'll also read the rest of this entry. So, with 3 Sunsettos dancing at the top of Mount Meru, and nothing left to do but watch the sunset, it's true that something happens here, something wordless and grand. The sun sets. The world goes dark. Too dark, actually. It doesn't make sense. Where'd all the suns go? In the darkness, Sunsetto can feel the water rise to his feet, even at the top of Mount Meru, which is the tallest point in the world, basically. And then he can hear the wind pick up. And if he echo-negates, he can just about make out a voice in the vibrations on the water, promising the world will start again, and this time with the clowns given a task even they can't neglect. A new sun rises over a green earth, and all the shops open up again, only this time nobody wants to go in. A new Yggdrasil is born, growing out into the sky atop Mount Meru. At its feet is Lucius Sunsetto, the one and only, the only human on Earth who is still infected with the Tarantella. Alright, so let's finish up Tired Anthem and hear all that dramatized. Fade out goes into the next song.
No word.
I want to point out, like, movement 9 called Remember. It was the Last Sunset, but with a full band.
Oh.
Plus, like, in the story, that was the Last Sunset as well. Right, so Clowns Who Set the Sun. So we're done with the big one. We're done with all the songs. This is the last one. I feel like there probably is a quality to this one. I actually don't remember right now. But there's some biblical stuff. Like it comes by virtue of I took a lot of influence from a lot of classical literature, and a lot of literature takes influence from the Bible.
Very true.
Right, the Clowns Who Set the Sun this one's an instrumental. I wanted to end this with something that has like no lyrics, and yet there's still, like, I don't know, there's imagery implied by it somehow. But so I'll just read this, whatever. The clowns of this new Earth are tasked with carrying the one and only sun across the sky, rising it in the morning and setting it in the evening. Lucius Sunsetto dances without rest, watching over the clowns to make sure they do this every day. All of this is a strange dream being played to us by musicians that aren't even real. It is a strange dream, isn't it? A myth performed by a myth living on our Earth. Lucius Sunsetto is a work of fiction.
Just in case you guys forgot.
And part of the joke of Clowns Who Set the Sun is that every song on this album is at least over 10 minutes long, but Clowns Who Set the Sun is under 10 minutes. Just a little, essentially it's an epilogue or a coda.
clowns forced to constantly do the sun cycle as a punishment?
Yeah, more or less. They refused to take responsibility in the old world, and now they've got to take responsibility.
Yeah, because they don't have a choice, do they?
Yeah.
Very interesting. That's kind of what's transpired. What's kind of just, become their fate. But then what about the ones that died? They don't come back, do they?
I don't know.
All up to interpretation, then.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Fucking A, that's... Yeah, I quite like that album. That was really cool. I like the fact that it had a bizarro fantasy fictional kind of story going on. There's an apocalyptic setting. Craziness ensues. I like the fact that you had this plague, which is not something you tend to see in a lot of other things. Where there might be plagues, but not the dancing one. I mean, I've always found that one to be incredibly fucking funny, as it is anyway.
Well, it made a lot of sense to me to have that in a music album.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree, and it's just underutilized. It really, really is. Just wow. What would you feel like was the biggest inspiration for you to make this album?
It would probably be the kind of music that I listen to. Because I listen to a lot of prog rock and a lot of prog metal. I feel like there's a lot of Coheed and Cambria in this, and there's also a lot of...
I can see that vibe.
Yeah. And also, there's a lot of influences of all corners of my brain went into this one. But the thing is, while there are bands that have made albums that I've really, really liked, albums that have come close to this, at the time, I think the closest to the vibes of this was, well, either Mars Volta's Francis the Mute or Jethro Tull's Thick as a Brick. Because Thick as a Brick is like one 42-minute song, which just it doesn't. It's got a clear structure to it, but it doesn't tell you that structure. You've got to listen to it and figure it out yourself. But in the moment, it just feels like it's going from section to section to section, and it brings back old sections, even though you might not even notice because there's so much stimulus, there's so much to take in.
Right.
But the thing, I like that kind of music. In fact, I love that kind of music. It's not the kind of music that I always want to listen to, but it tends to be my favorite because it tends to reward re-listens the most. The more I re-listen to it, the more I notice more and more riffs and more things that get reused,
and the more it makes sense, the more you understand it.
Yeah, but so like Summer Sucks was basically that on steroids, like that kind of album on steroids. I just wanted to take that the energy of having just a really complex, busy album, and it's pushing the Sunsetters project to, I guess, the extremes. Because, as I had kind of explained to Nathan before, album 1 with Mythology of Empathy, the idea was to make this feel like I could plausibly see a real band making that kind of album. But with Summer Sucks, I could see a real band doing it, but it's not a profitable idea. It's going to be very intensive, and the band is going to have to get really good at what they're doing and remember these long songs that. This long album. It's a 95-minute album. It's a freaking movie. It's long and it's intense. I feel like the drummer especially is going to be exhausted by the end of it. But the thing, it's like I wanted to screw realism just for this, just to see what we could do with the MIDI sound. The strength of this being a MIDI thing that doesn't have to be realistic.
Doesn't have to be constrained by any realistic norms. Yeah, I completely get it.
I wanted to see what it would be like, and plus, in hindsight, after finishing this and listening to it a lot, I have listened to this album so many times over the years. But it's definitely there are bands that could potentially play this kind of thing.
I don't think it's possible. Yeah,
it's not actually. It's nowhere near as advanced as like a Dream Theater thing, or even a Between the Buried and Me thing. And Between the Buried and Me probably comes the closest to this kind of music, although they have more of a metalcore growling vocals kind of route. But they're obsessed with music, and they constantly throw riffs into their music and change genres halfway through. And
that's true.
They are my favorite band, and that definitely went into this. Yeah, the music was it. The music was the point, and then afterwards, as I was going along, I was like, okay, well, what kind of plot can I see coming out of this? Because But like as I'm composing it and arranging it, I'm deciding like, okay, now we're going into a different mood. So I'm like my brain, my emotions are kind of making a story anyway, but it's a wordless story. The music is just I can't tell you what the story is, but I can know that there's some emotions to it, there's some flow to it, and then so I have to interpret that and come up with a story around that, primarily by coming up with the lyrics, and then just figuring out what the story is after that. Every part of this was a process. Every part of this was effort.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Can't even imagine.
Yeah, and the creation of this also led to it helps make later albums easier to make, or at least we have a lot better of idea of how to do it. And I would like, and Lindsay would also like, we would like to one day make another album like this. It's not going to be anytime soon. Like even album number 5, which isn't out yet, isn't going to be this kind of thing. But like, it takes so much effort to make. But we would like to make more things like this. But we don't want all of the Sunsetters product to just be this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of ebb and flow. There's a lot of give and take of this whole process, because it's like the album after this one also tells a story, but it's a lot. The music is a lot easier to get into. It's a lot less intensive and a lot more of a groove, a consistent groove. The songs are distinct. They're shorter, and like I feel like the concept of the third album meshes a lot better with the music. Well, no, meshes with music just fine here. It's more like the concept of the third one was a lot less surreal and a lot more. I don't know. I'm losing track of where I'm going, but
That's all right.
But then I've also got to bring up No Entry. Like compare and contrast Summer Sucks with No Entry. A lot of the reason why No Entry is took the form that it did is because of Summer Sucks. We wanted to make something that we didn't want to make a Summer Sucks 2. We wanted to make something that felt distinct and like a very different kind of album, even though it's still telling a story and it still has moments of complexity on it. Especially at Best Regards, the final song is a fairly complex song, which is the closest that album gets to Summer Sucks.
Yeah,
but like No Entry was more focused on having a cohesive, if enigmatic, narrative that's linked to the music in a more grounded way.
Yeah,
I wanted it to feel like a much more grounded album. I want all these albums to feel distinct from each other. You can appreciate them all. They all do different things, and they all go for different. But they all pull from different things that I've seen actual bands do. That I don't know. Just like there's something to be said for how, like Andy Warhol's famous painting about the soup cans. People often wonder, like, what's that about? What's the meaning to that? Is it pretentious? But really, at the end of the day, what all the soup can painting is it was basically like a painting of flowers. There's millions of paintings of flowers out there, and artists paint flowers because they think they're pretty and they like the flowers. They have good memories. And Andy Warhol painted soup cans because he liked soup cans. He grew up with soup cans.
Yeah.
He thought of them fondly. And he thought he saw beauty in them. And
sometimes a creation is just a creation. There doesn't have to be much depth behind it.
And Summer Sucks, and as much like the project as a whole, is me. Like I like MIDI music, and I like complex rock operas, and I like this teenage-focused apocalypse kind of narrative. Well, I've kind of grown past that by now, but at the time, I was definitely putting a bow on this love that I had for that kind of story. There's just a lot of the things that I loved. That's like Summer Sucks, just all of it put together in this abstract context of like this fictional band. This is like the heart of the project for me.
I can absolutely see that. Well, I think you fucking nailed it. I really do. When it comes to, I mean, whether you want to define it as it tells a story or whether it's a cohesive enough unit about, songwriting in and of itself, there's plenty of good things about this album. And I think I love the fact that it's not just all like there's 20 different songs of varying lengths and this and that. No. There's 5. And they are varying lengths. They are kind of their own individual pieces in and of themselves. They're all tied into a bigger narrative. But quite frankly, you could just listen to them individually, even so.
You could.
And it's still good to jam out to. Yeah. It's just nice.
Thank you.
Of course. If you wrote shit, I mean, I would probably let you know if I thought I was like Jordan, this is shit. But no, I feel, I mean, yeah, I haven't loved every single song you've written, of course. I mean, obviously, I like others more, yeah,
That's fair.
as people do, you know.
You're gonna have preferences. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. But I wouldn't say that I've heard any of your songs so far that I think are like just like scrap it, like that's dog shit kind of stuff. But I guess that's also part of the process, isn't it? It's you don't put every single thing out there. I mean, I feel like there's probably also songs that you've worked on or potentially created that may never see the light of day as well. Because yet again, that's part of the process, isn't it? Like I've also done stories and I've also done narratives and I've done little creation stuff that will never see the light of day because some of them it's like, no, this was just wrong. This was just too bad. And even if I tried to look at how goofy this was, I couldn't even remotely be proud of it. You know, like I've put out 2 things out there that were for my teenage years that were kind of stories I was potentially going to work on back in my youth. And they're at cringy. You could tell like this was written by a teenager kind of stuff. But I'm still proud of them because I'm like it's still a better reflection of how I feel and stuff that I was into at the time. Whereas other things like, you know, some of the comics and stuff like that, I wouldn't. I mean, granted, luckily I don't have access to any of that, which is great because some of them were like too much. You know what I mean? And so I'm really glad I don't have to put those out in the world. But no, I think so far I'm really enjoying the journey that we're going on with the Sunsetters. I am still super curious because I feel like I guess as you said, it's not really the project isn't about telling a story about the band. It's more like
the thing, like, you know, when the more of the music or even all the music is done, like I will add actual story context to it.
but because obviously like a big part of the thing is that you know they probably I mean you might do more newspaper things and interviews and stuff where it's like, well, why did you guys write these ones? What was the stuff there? And they might talk about like how after college, university and stuff when they really started becoming a band and stuff, oh maybe they were really into this and that. You know, they were all into varying different like religions and mythology and stuff, and that's why there's a variety of clashing going on there. And one of them was into like apocalyptic stories. It's just like a mashing of ideas. But that is what a lot of like creation is whenever a bunch of people come together, it's a collaboration. And sometimes it's just a mashing of ideas of being like, can we make this maybe into something good?
Yeah. And I do already have some like loose ideas like that. Every time I listen to this, I or any of these things, I do get like glimpses of, or I get
something comes to you. Yeah, I get that. I get that a lot too. I totally understand.
And I'm really like the website does actually have a secret album that offers some of that, like some direct context about where the Sunsetters were when they were writing "Summer Sucks."
Okay.
But like it's a secret on the website. I think to this day nobody has found that secret album. There's 2 secret albums on the website, one of which we will listen to at the end of the 4th stream, probably the last stream that we'll do on this.
Oh, the glitch one, yeah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Then the other secret album, I'm not going to put on this stream. I'm leaving it. Nobody's found it yet, but somebody will find it.
Well, I think that's good. In which case, we might say something about it, but we might not reveal how to access it. We don't want to give the secrets away.
Yeah.
We want it to be like, hey, if you're really interested in this, you can figure it out. Here's the website. Have fun. Let us know if you find it. Yeah. Maybe Jordan will give you a high five or something. Virtually, probably, but still.
Sure.
So, I feel like we've kind of reached the end of the stream.
Yeah.
I know we've had a fantastic time. So, here's the good news, guys. Here's the good news. I've learned some things about how this gifting membership stuff works. So, the good news is I can gift, which is great. Here's the strange news. It's not really bad, but it is strange. I have zero control over who gets it. I know. I think that's fucking weird. So I can gift the membership, no problem. But YouTube will pick who it goes to. And I believe it's based on whoever's in the live chat. But I just find that strange.
Is weird.
Yeah, I find that really, really weird. Like, I don't know if you guys have the same thing where when you choose to gift something, YouTube picks for you. I think that's weird. Like, I kind of find that fun as well, but I like it to be an additional option. So yeah. It might go to whoever's in first place, in which case, Little Duck, congratulations. You are number 1 on the leaderboard. Congratulations. And it's also going to be your birthday very soon, so happy birthday as well.
Let's hope you get it, Little Duck.
You might get it. You might. I have no idea. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kick that off. Let me do that. Is it on the right one? Let me just check this. That'll do. Okay. But yeah, it says I can gift, but absolutely nowhere does it say who I get. Oh, okay. No. There was a problem, was there? You little bastards. Let me try this then. See, I might know what the problem is. It's okay. Da, 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 da. Please. Okay, something's happening. Okay, that's looking promising. So it should show up on stream as well. I've sent... Valentine Blackwood has received a gift membership.
Who the hell is that?
I have no... Well, congratulations, Valentine Blackwood. Are you in chat with us?
Has become a member.
Yeah, it's happened.
Okay.
You have been gifted one month membership to the Cool Peeps. Congratulations. They're not even here, are they? Are you saying it can go to anybody? Can it go to, like, any of my 50,000 subscribers? That's even more crazy.
So what's the point of the leaderboard?
I don't know. YouTube are not telling me how some of this stuff works, but they're just rolling things out, and it's like, guys, we need to know how this works. Yeah, so I completely agree. Why is it random? I have no idea, but like literally like if I could even show Jordan, so it goes membership gifting, so I do that, and then no matter what you do, right? So it says terms and conditions. YouTube selects the eligible recipients who have opted in. Gift memberships last 1 month. But yeah, so it literally says lucky recipients selected by YouTube. I get zero control.
That is weird. That's really weird.
It is incredibly weird. Well, congratulations, Valentine Blackwood, who probably watched Weird Birds one time and subscribed, and then never watched any of my videos again. You've just unlocked a month of Cool Peeps access, where you get 2 weeks early access to the other videos. Well, that's incredibly strange. Kind of fun, but also very strange. I need to... I feel like it should be at least relevant to who's in the live stream.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so weird. Well, we've all learned something here today. They need to give us guides. They need to give us guides. They need to give us instructions. How am I supposed to use things when we don't know how it works? Oh my god, that's very funny. Very, very funny. Well, either way, I think it's been a fun little time.
Yeah.
Next week we're going to be doing album number 3, which is
We Excavate.
We Excavate.
It's the water album. It's going to be a story about a trip to the bottom of the sea and deeper still.
So this is the water temple level.
Sure.
This is the sewer level.
It's more of the water temple than the
Okay,
sewer.
more of the water temple than the sewer level. That's good. That's a big difference. Well, either way, I think we've all had a good little time. I know I sure have. I'm sure he has. I mean, we're doing his project, right?
I love my own music.
Yeah, can you imagine if he, like, hated this, Like, he's like, yeah, we'll do myself, but I really fucking hate it. That'd be really weird. Either way, guys, we hope you've had fun with us. We've had a fantastic little time with you, as always.
Thank you guys for listening. I really do appreciate it. And I'm
And thank
very
you-
glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you for also being guinea pigs for this membership thing. I'll see if I can learn any more information for next week, but I get the feeling that it's still going to do this, which is so fucking weird. I'll see if there's anything. I have no idea. Anyway, take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we will. We'll probably see you sometime next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Look, my hand disappears because this is the window. You can't see it. It's great. It disappears off screen. Oh god. Bye bye.